What's up, everyone? I'm Virginie from Better Music, and this is my podcast, Better Minds. On this podcast, we will have conversations about life, health, struggles, and music. I hope this place will make you feel loved and safe, and I really hope this place will make you feel like you can fully be yourself. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to this new episode. Conversations are full of surprises, and Nick shared stories I wasn't expecting to hear. I had many questions prepared, but listening to his words made the conversation go in a different direction, and I loved that. On this episode, we talk about music and life struggles. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for listening. So, first of all, I've always loved your voice.
Thank you.
I interviewed you in 2021, I think, for your first single. Was it for The View?
Yeah, it was. That was one of the first artist project tracks that I released.
I love this one.
Thanks, me too. I was living in Joshua Tree, and it was very California vibes.
Yep.
It was fun. Yeah.
So when did you know you could sing?
Actually, it wasn't until the middle of high school because I would sing all the time. I would sing in my house. I would sing in the shower. And my parents were divorced when I was quite young. So I had, two households for a little while. And both of the households would be like, you have to stop singing. Like, you don't sound good. Like, they were trying to tell me I don't know if it was love or if it was jealousy or if it was maybe like collateral embarrassment or something. But a lot of people tried to talk me out of singing, keep me a little bit quieter. And it wasn't until I kind of got caught singing in high school that the choir director asked me to join the choir. And then I started doing all-state choirs and competitive stuff like that. And then the musical theater teacher saw it, and she was like, "Oh, we got to get him," And then I kind of just fell into a musical theater degree after high school. And so singing kind of went from like a no-fly zone to like a profession kind of quick.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was always a little bit private. Yeah. So I don't know when I don't know if I even right now I'm like, I can sing. It's a I don't know, point of view thing.
You have a beautiful voice.
Thanks, thank you,
So keep singing.
thank you. We persist.
Yep, you have to.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when parents try to protect you and they end up just causing more pain. Because at the end of the day, it's like kids are going to be what they're going to be. You're just going to make it harder by trying to talk them out of it.
Yeah, my parents tried years ago, but then they stopped because they
Yeah.
knew music was the only thing for me. But that was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's such a vulnerable position for parents to be in, to just they're scared, they're scared they're going to leave you and you're not going to have what you need and you're not going to be set up and secure. And I understand that so much, but then, I think my biggest fear is that I would get to the end of my life and have not enjoyed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and not done what I love.
We have to do what we love,
Yeah,
always.
I agree. How long have you been circling with music?
Um, Many years ago, I think I was 15 or 16, even maybe before that.
Cool. What did that look like for
But
you?
I wanted to be a singer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I said that a few
Oh, I love your
times.
voice.
It's still a little bit embarrassing, but yeah, I wanted to be a singer and be in a duo with a friend.
Hmm.
And then I realized that helping artists was more my thing.
Yeah. That's so generous of you.
Well, I still sing
Of
every time
course.
I want to do karaoke. I'm here.
Heck yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
music gets so confusing when there's such an industry around it because I've heard it said that like you know if somebody you say like, what brings you joy, what makes you happy, and if someone says I love to go for long walks, no one ever is like are you a good walker? It's just like yeah, because I like to go for walks. What do you mean? You don't have to be good at something to like take joy from it. And that's not even to say that like I bet you have a beautiful voice and um it's just it's like we clock ourselves out of things that we don't even need to be good at doing to do.
so
Like I love
true.
to rollerblade and I fall all the time. I don't know. It's just confusing how we associate like anything that has the potential to make money or to be successful. Then anyone who engages must also, you know, be the top.
Yep,
Tricky.
so true. So, what biggest lesson have you learned since the release of The View?
Yeah. You know, my artist journey has always been very interesting because um I I did go to school for musical theater. And I didn't go to school for musical theater because I had ever really seen musicals. I was very like unaware of the musical theater scene. I had no history in it. But I wanted to study acting and I wanted to study music, and it was just the overlap in a degree. And so I am an actor as well. I do commercial work. And I'm a songwriter for other artists almost more than I am for myself, which is actually like a big lifesaver because I'm not the only avenue of release for myself.
Mm.
I get to see, my work in a bunch of different capacities and in a bunch of different mediums. And so it's always made it like not so like, oh, I have to release something this week or I have to. And I think I've fallen into the pressures of kind of just like tracking along with what's expected. The summer is like, oh, we gotta have a summary song. Even The View, it's very, very summary song. And when I wrote The View, it was like maybe a month after I had lost one of my best friends, and I was so like afraid that no one would care if I wrote a song about that, or no one would, you know. It's like what I think a lot about what emotion I'm trying to elicit from my audience, what container I'm trying to hold them in, whether it be just like the feeling of joy or the feeling of release or the feeling of like, you know, tomorrow's a new day, whatever these optimistic sort of like get you through the day, energetic, positive mantra situations. And and I thought maybe like that was what I was trying to gift people with my music. That was what I was trying to connect with. And I've just oscillated between like, regretting not sharing some of the things that were more intimate or more personal. My younger sister recently lost a friend, and I was really overwhelmed with how regretful I was that I hadn't released more of the material after losing my friend, because I thought like, oh wow, like here's a person in front of me who could have used this, but then how many people around me could have used this? How many people have experienced loss? And not to say that like, more than 15 people would have heard it, but maybe those 15 people would have thought, oh wow, this is actually what I need right now.
Mm.
And so my journey's definitely been just a lot of trying to figure out what the world and I have in common, and really like disengage from what feels strategically correct, and lean into more what's just like happening in my life, and then
Mm.
trust that it will relate. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I think started just releasing when I want to, and writing what makes me feel good, and most of the things that I love the most actually aren't out, because I'm still stuck in kind of overthinking them, I guess. But I don't know. I've definitely leaned more into the commercial side.
Hmm. You have to release them.
I do.
We need
Yeah,
new music,
we
please.
do. Yeah, I think when you want to be a full time musician, when you want to be a full time creative, diversification is like so essential. Finding ways, to to hit it from all angles, you know. And I've written with a couple camps out of Sundance. It's a big it's a big movie thing in the States, and so I've written a lot of songs with camps there, and I've done like syncs for commercials, and I've placed a few songs in movies, and it's been really good. It's kind of been where my focus was for the last 2 years because I'm engaged and we're trying to start a family, and that's
Wow.
going to cost a lot of money, you know. And so my focus has really been like my super objectives, and my super objectives are the future I want, the kids I want to raise, the family I want to have, the lake I want to live near, you know, all of those kind of things have been so much more important to me than like the way that I get there, if that makes sense.
Mm.
You know, I've done a Dickies commercial, I've done like these little things that are like kind of all over the place. And the people will ask, you know, what's the through line? What's the connector? And I'm like, well, the money, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I'm trying to really like, um, yeah, reach higher than the means. You know, I don't necessarily wake up wanting to write a song for a movie, you know, but
Mm.
I do wake up wanting to get paid like that. So
That would be
it's a
the
tricky
dream.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, life is about happiness, and I can see that you are pursuing that and
yeah.
finding balance between your life and career.
I think the blessing has been writing as the third in the room so often, like with an artist and a producer, either like under the umbrella of S Curve or some labels or you know, somebody bigger, because I get to kind of sit back and see what it feels like to be a full-time artist and how sometimes, you know, you choose the career over your life, and it feels noble.
Mm.
And I've always looked at that and felt like bad for the person, or that they would look back at this chapter and they'll have two records, but will they have friends left? Will they have had, you know, will they have an apartment that they like have been in for a few months in a row, you know?
Mm.
Things like that. I feel like it was helpful for me to then see and then just clear up what I really wanted, you know?
Yeah.
What are your super objectives? It's my favorite party question. Like what do you do it all for?
That's a deep question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's what if I catch somebody alone at a party, I'm like, so what do you do it all for? But
Yeah, that's funny because I had an episode with another artist on Monday, and she talked about that. She was like, "What are you doing this for?"
mm,
Like every little thing in your life,
mm,
you always
yeah.
have to wonder why you do this. And I do this for my own mental health and happiness.
Mhm.
I
That's great.
changed so many things in my life, especially right now, and I
Yeah,
try
like
to
what?
do better with my mental health, for example. So I had so many issues, and I still have so many issues,
Mm,
for example, with stress and anxiety and past traumas.
yeah.
And I've been working on this for a few months now, and it's been so challenging, but it's
Mm,
been great too, but because I think I'm going in the right direction now, because I think I'm happier.
that's awesome.
And that's the same thing with music. I want to keep helping artists, but I also want to do a lot with mental health and combine the two.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing with this podcast, I guess.
Mm,
So I think
that's
that's the
awesome.
goal. I always want to help people and help myself in the process.
Yeah, I feel like community is so essential. You know, it sounds like really helpful, and I think a lot of what is embedded in that is the community you're building. You know, the people you get to watch
Mm.
grow and the impact you get to have. It makes a lot of sense.
I'm trying, but I love that. I think I found my way finally.
Nice.
Do you remember a specific time in your life where music made a huge difference? Any
Hmm.
song that helped you?
Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a moment where music didn't help. I was a kid singing, and and the people who really were supporters of mine. I think this is probably every singer ever, but audition for American Idol, audition for American Idol, all these things. It's like what everybody says, or The Voice, or things like that, which it's a whole other episode. But I was prepared to sing a Stevie Wonder song called "Overjoyed," and I think it was the first time that I had like sung a romantic song and like fantasized a queer relationship. I was like, oh, this is a song I would sing at my wedding, and I'd get married to a man, and I think maybe there was something about like um, just that little secret, that little private interpretation that made that my favorite song, and I would sing it with so much passion. And I think that was sort of the key that unlocked like perspective, and that the song wasn't always about what the person wrote it to be. The song was about what I needed it to be.
Mm,
And when I realized that, I was like, oh, I don't have to know what somebody else is experiencing because I can't control their interpretation of the art anyway.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and then like I remember my mom would listen to Alanis Morissette, the '90s album Jagged. I think it was Jagged Little Pill. Um, and it's and I'm here to remind you, the like very angry, very '90s alt rock. And as I said, my parents were divorced quite young, and they got married quite young, and I remember my mom just having so much anger, and my dad too, but my mom was very angry, and she was betrayed, and those songs like gave her a place to put it. It gave her um, a spot to like release. And we would listen to that stuff. I mean, the CD was burned, we would listen to it nonstop. And I think then I also unlocked a power of just understanding that like that feelings almost are physical, and they can leave you and go somewhere else. You can transfer them, you can release them, you can let them out
Mm,
in ways that don't destroy the world. I think anger can be scary because anger and expression often affect change. They create consequence, and maybe in the moment I, want to scream and yell and push everybody away, but I'm afraid of what loneliness feels like. And so I don't ever act. I don't ever, my mom, for example, because my parents were separated, I ended up living with my mom for most of my childhood until she was, our sole provider. And I remember being so afraid to be mad at her because she was the only parent I had. And music was a way to, you know, Paramore and these like angry voices. It was a way to tap in with the anger that I had in a way that didn't make me feel like I was going to lose my resources. Yeah, that was pretty transformative.
wow. I'm glad you
Mm.
found music.
Yeah, I mean, one song that I feel like I've been able to, um, and hopefully do that for other folks is a song I have called "What Do You Want." I wrote it with Whatever Mike and my buddy Jesse Blue in my Brooklyn apartment, like maybe the middle of the pandemic. It was like right when we were allowed to start meeting up again, and I think I can't even remember really where I heard this first, but um, something I learned from Yeba Abby Smith. Um, every time I listened to one of her songs that really moved me, it seemed like the song didn't have an answer. It seemed like the song had a question, and the question was the chorus. The question was the point. Um, you know, where do you go? One of her songs, and Evergreen, Will You Wait for Me? You know, these songs. It was like, and to me, the question had always felt like the pre, and the chorus always felt like it should be the answer as a writer. And then I shifted pretty starkly in that moment and realizing that um, to offer the answer sometimes is false and pretentious. To assume that I have any idea how to solve this problem, how to, you know, to assume that and then also to assume that I have to have a solution to present a problem. You know, the real vulnerability is in asking the question and not having the answer. And so in this song I wrote, you know, about my student loans and about federal taxes and about all of these things that in America, no one teaches you about, and then you get swallowed by them. You sign off, $100,000 loans for colleges and things. And it was just this, what do you want me to do about it? And, and I remember even to this day, I'm like, well, I want you to pay them. I want you to, and it's like, sure, sure. But like, it was something about just leaning into not the logistics, but the emotion, the anger, the frustration, and not saying that I have a solve, but just that I have a question. How do you expect so much from so many? And that connected to a lot of folks because we were all frustrated because we're all, struggling in a way.
Yep. That brings me to my next question. What biggest life struggles did you have to go through so far? And what did you learn from these experiences?
Oh, geez, yeah. Um, hmm, where to begin, right? I guess when my parents split, it felt like, um, people think children of divorce have two homes, and I think maybe they don't have any. You get to sort of live in your mom's new home and your dad's new home with their new husband and their new wife and their new kids, and you get to kind of feel like you don't belong anywhere. So that feels like probably like the core struggle of detachment. But
Mm.
I think I was raised by my father's from Spain. My father's family, or my father's not from Spain. My father's parents are, and but the sort of macho element of the man of the house and the 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 strong silent type, the guy who can take it all, who can, and it felt like kind of the role of the male to absorb, the woes, to carry the family. And I knew I was gay from quite a young age, but I still sort of felt like I absorbed the toxicity of that male perspective. um, and and it took me a really long time to admit when I was overwhelmed. When I was a senior in college, I went for musical theater, and all the seniors, we all get new headshots. We prepare to audition for the regular world. We prepare to like present ourselves, and it's a very, you are the product. It's sort of like you are your thesis. You are the paper, and at the time, I was paying my rent. I was paying my way through school. I was living in New York City. I was overwhelmed and underqualified, and I was working in a restaurant overnight and then going to school in the morning. Um, I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was overwhelmed. And I think that I pretended like I wasn't, and I developed alopecia areata, or I guess I expressed alopecia areata. My grandmother also had this, and so I was sort of aware of it, but it essentially means you get like circle spots. You lose patches of your hair.
Mm.
And I remember working at a restaurant and having people, ask questions, and it was something I didn't even know the answer to. I didn't have a great relationship with my mom at the time, and my insurance was through her, and so I didn't pursue medical avenues to really take care of it. I just knew it was like a stress expression. I knew that my body was trying to talk to me, and I was also taking my headshots for my senior year. I was also trying to present this package, and I was like, wow, I can't. I felt ugly. I felt embarrassed. I was like, how can I? There's no parts on Broadway for kids with patchy heads. It was like I didn't understand how to hide it any longer. It felt like the things I was holding in were on the outside of me, And so I dropped out of school and I took a year just to sort of breathe and assess, and that widened the divide between my mother and I. And so I felt very alone, and in that year, I definitely just sort of gave in and gave my body what it needed, and then brought myself back to school, finished up my program. And I think what I learned the most there was is you can't hide that, like, lying doesn't really work. You know, maybe other people will believe you, but you know, the truth exists inside of you, and pain can't really go ignored. It manifests, it finds its way out. And that was a big shift with how I treated how I treated my ability, you know, how much I actually could handle, what my bandwidth was, what I needed, you know. And I think that feeling grew into what eventually became like a willful codependency, a willful interest in partnership. And, you know, because I had seen dependency, like I'd seen in my parents, as a potential trap, as a you know, look at how hurt they both got from depending on each other. Look at how unstable their lives were because they trusted each other. I was afraid to do those things. And it turns out that those things were actually the only things that the only ways to keep me alive, you know, were to surrender to the need and to ask and to build community and to express my reality, and then, you know, try to build back from there.
Wow. You learned a lot. Life,
Yeah.
it- honestly, life is a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. You always think it's going to be, you know, uh, I don't know. You just never think things are going to happen to yourself. I remember so distinctly another child, or they were maybe 18. Um, in my past, I had seen a person with alopecia areata, and I was so intrigued. I was so because by the time my grandmother, by the time I was aware that she had it, she had just been wearing a wig and she had, you know, no hair, and so I'd never seen the sort of like really vulnerable, patchy portion of that experience. And then I remember seeing this person and being like, geez, it's like, I don't know what I would do if if I if my woes were on the outside of me, you know, if my shame was so present, and I think maybe that's a I sometimes think in that moment it was like that that might have been the reason why I got it, because I needed to understand, I needed to, you know, be in it to see how everybody's woes are on the outside. You know, some are more visible than others, but
Mm.
um, you know, if you look hard enough, you can see everybody's pain.
Wow. Yeah, so true. And everything happens for a reason. And I guess you learned from that and you grew from that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could have never said in that moment that I was grateful, but
Yeah,
I am.
obviously.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've shaved my head ever since, but you know, I don't have. You know, by the time I got back, I didn't have patches anymore. My hair had grown back in, and that was what was really remarkable. Actually, the head of my department. Gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. The head of my department also had alopecia. She wasn't areata, so she had just gone fully bald and lost her eyebrows and everything. And I remember watching that from the outside, and seeing this person who had presented such strength and such fortitude feel so small and oh, sorry, feel so small and so uh, insecure. And when I came back to school, I had hair again, and she asked me, "Shit, how did you do that?" And I remember saying, like, I kind of regret it now, but I think I was like, it's lifestyle, you know, and because it was true to me, but I felt like it was she wasn't ready for that yet, because it meant that what she was doing was futile, and what she needed to do was invite more peace into her life, or you know, maybe say the things she was holding back, or live the dream that she wanted. You know, there was something for her that, yeah, it was interesting. And I do sort of, in retrospect, think maybe that wasn't the most sensitive way to say it, but yeah, it was truly like nothing more remarkable than inviting more peace into your life and watching your body heal on the outside. It was really, really incredible.
Exactly. It's about healing our body and our mind first.
Yeah. And the power of it,
Yeah.
the power that your body has to, or the power your mind has to impact your physical body is really amazing.
Yeah. We talked about it a few times with more artists. It's really about the mind and all the stuff you went through. And you have to look yourself in the mirror and figure out what to do and how to fix your mind in order
Yeah.
to heal your body.
Yeah. And I think that music has always been like a medicine in that sense of, the sound bath for the mind kind of thing, and creating the sonic space to, I think that may also have been why I felt so compelled to write such positivity, because I felt like, the power of your attention, the power of your thought process, and like, yeah, those two ideas sort of rubbed against each other, because I thought, oh, if positivity and optimism and light and joy and all these things um, healed me, then are they not the most essential concepts for music? Are they not, what the music should be? And even saying it now, I don't know if the positivity was what healed me. I think it may have actually been the visibility,
Mm.
you know, um, in just spending enough time walking around the block or going to the grocery store with my head the way it was, and having and not losing access to um, you know respect. People still, I was a human, and I didn't like, I wasn't discarded in the world the way I was discarded in my profession. Musical theater felt like, oh, well, there's not really a place for you. And so I felt like I was discarded in that form, and I was only worthwhile beautiful. I was only worthwhile healthy,
Mm.
and I think in the year I took away from that community, I I made more contact with the real world, and the real world can be much more loving. The real world can be much more um, forgiving with what we hate about ourselves. Probably because they don't have enough time to take on your pain. But yeah, it made me, just being for the first time a person in New York City that wasn't a student, um, made me see that I wasn't that different from everybody else. That everybody else was just doing their best, and everybody else was um, imperfect in their own ways. And so I think that was more of what gave me permission to be what I was in that moment.
Mm. And what makes you happy?
Hmm. I mean, singing. I Over the last year, have been really lucky to get a lot of residencies. It's interesting because I feel like I've released so little lately and sung so much. I think I did maybe 60 concerts in this last year.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and they were like, and it was interesting because with the rise of artificial intelligence, I would even say that like I created a live lounge called Red Couch, which is again a whole other podcast. But this was pre-pandemic, where I was trying to find a way to reinvite um, live music into spaces where music was essential. Every coffee shop in my neighborhood, every restaurant, every grocery store had, Spotify on. And it's like, yeah, these spaces do want music. These spaces are enhanced by music, but now you have this way of not paying anybody for it. Now you have this way of, instead of paying people, you know, $200 for 2 hours, you'd pay $13 a month and you'd listen to Rihanna all day. And at some point, that access to music felt exciting. And then I think it got exciting, and it blinded us to what we were losing. And so I bring that back to now, where in the last 2 years or so, as you start to not even be able to tell if music is real or not, or if the artist that's making it is real or not. I had a lot of local, Midtown Manhattan bars and piano bars and um, lounges that would reach out for live, 2 hours worth of music during the peak happy hour, or come in and sing acoustic jazz, Chapel Roan, things like that. And I think it was the world asking for the opposite. It was like, oh, actually, the more artificial things got, the more people actually reached down into what was real. People in the room listening to a song with an instrument, and reinterpretation, and just like being present. And so I started singing. Of course, I was singing the stuff that I thought everybody wanted me to sing. The Michael Bublé songs and like the classic, New York stuff. And then I started doing stuff that really connected to my history. Like I play it sometimes as the songs that like made me realize I was queer, because I look back at them and it's like a Hillary Duff, or the Backstreet Boys songs, or like these,
Backstreet Boys
oh
forever.
yeah, or like Miley Cyrus songs back when she was Hannah Montana sometimes. And it is cute now, as I work in the professional songwriting world, to see also that those were the highest trafficked artists, and so they were getting the best songs, they were getting the best writers, the best producers, and it makes sense that they're so perfectly written and they're really relatable. But there's maybe nothing that makes me as happy as singing like The Climb in a room of 70 people and watching everybody freak out, or like the hey now, things like that. um, because it feels like these tethers that we all don't like necessarily give enough attention to, that really connect us in a nostalgic core way. Our joy is very intertwined, and being able to access it for them and then invite them in and then have this exchange. I've become pretty addicted to that.
Wow. What's your
Yeah.
favorite Backstreet Boys song?
Um, oh, jeez. I'm embarrassed to say it. In my brain, I can't tell I can't tell what songs are Backstreet and what songs are In Sync. you know, It's Gonna Be Me is the first song that came to mind, and that's
NSYNC.
an In Sync. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
What's
gonna
your
be
favorite Backstreet Boys
May.
song? Yeah, I used to sing that all the time. My cousin Raquel, she was living in a lot of my family was living in Long Island, and she ended up moving in with us when I was maybe, I don't know, gosh, 11 or something. And I so vividly remember sneaking into her room. She was in the downstairs, and she would show me the songs that she was listening to. And that was when, because yeah, like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all that stuff were big for me. But um, like Neo, Usher, uh, Boys to Men, like
Yep.
So Sick of Love Songs, like all these songs I had no business singing, but they were like, I think it was the first time, the Backstreet Boys really, really were incredible vocalists, but it was one of the first times I'd heard music where like the voice was the priority, where and like even if I didn't speak the language, I feel like I would have understood what was happening,
Hmm.
sort of like a touch of the blues or something. And I'm surprised that didn't encourage me to write more honestly earlier, but yeah.
I grew up
What about
listening
you?
to Boys to Men.
Oh yeah.
Boys to Men, Brian McKnight,
Yes.
Backstreet Boys,
Hmm.
Neo,
Totally.
Mariah Carey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it makes sense, like scientifically, that we're also connected to these moments, because it was like the last little chunk of time where we all got the same like CDs, where like now
Mm.
25, we all knew the same 25 songs. And now, as much as I love the widened breadth of music, and as much as I, you know, probably am only here because of that increased access, I also think like we all know, your 10 favorite artists right now, I probably never heard of. And my 10, it's like my 10 favorite artists right now, you probably never, and our music doesn't overlap as much anymore, um, which is interesting.
Yeah. I miss those times.
Yeah, when everybody kind of knew the same songs.
Yeah, I knew every word of every song.
Yeah, totally. You put on any like from the window. I mean, everybody was listening to the same crap, and it wasn't that it was the best. It was just that like, yeah, I just miss the the deepness of that connection because they unlock a vulnerable part of us. They unlock our joy, and so being able to be in a joyous space and then have us all next to each other, it's kind of like we're co-joying, and then that it sort of reminds me of how like you acclimate cats. I have a cat that's 8 years old, and I moved into an apartment with a friend 5 years ago or so, four, and she had a cat as well. And they have to eat their food on opposite sides of the door so that they can like they can associate the positive feelings of eating with the pheromones released from the animal across the door, so that their brain can kind of be tricked into associating positivity with them. And then like stage two is like co-play, where on opposite sides of the room you play with both of them, so that both of them associate the positivity with the person, and then over a course of time they kind of melt into each other. And we're not that different. I think listening to stuff like that next to somebody, this is just this co-joy
It
that allows
is.
us to melt into each other really, really seamlessly. I think we've kind of lost some of our skills in that department. I think we struggle more to connect in person in real life, and yeah, there's probably a connection there, but not for me.
Yep. Let's go back. Let's go back in time.
Yeah, yeah,
How do
yeah.
you protect your mental health as an artist?
I think remembering who's in charge is really important to me. Um, maybe to a fault. I sort of, as a kid, was pretty desperate to have my parents' approval. Um, I went to a college that took like 20 kids, and I was desperate to get their approval, and I was desperate to be good, and then I, moved into performance, or I moved into music, and again, I was sort of just very interested in being approved of, very interested in being good, which is pure and makes sense, but um, remembering who is in charge, and that like I can never do this again. I can only ever sing lullabies to my kid. I I can sing on the days I want to, and I can rest on the days I don't. Um, which does get tricky with like show schedules and stuff. Sometimes I'll show up for a show and I'll be a little bit stubborn, and I'll be a little bit depressed because I'm like, oh, I hate when people force me to do stuff. But yeah, and I think maybe it's also why I've kept so much of my material kind of close to my chest, stuff that I haven't released yet, um, because I'm in a phase of sort of stubborn self control where I need to consistently remind myself that I'm the person who gets to choose when, how, and what, and you know if I put out the most depressing song I ever wrote on July 5th, too freaking bad. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that that's a way I protect myself.
Yeah, you make your own rules.
Yeah. And I used to think that was brave, and I used to think that was unique. And now I think it is mandatory. I think everybody, it's like, um, you know, a couple days ago, maybe even not a couple days ago. I don't know how in tune you are with the politics of the states. Trust me, I wouldn't be if I wasn't here either. But there's challenges on the legality of same-sex marriage via the
Hmm.
Supreme Court again, and I think about that, and there's parts of me that get depressed, because I can't imagine, like I know everybody has a version of this, but just the cap that it puts on growth when you feel almost um almost gross, almost like, oh, like what I'm doing is I should be ashamed, and my identity is a problem, and my identity and who I love is disgusting to people, and how I love, and it's really difficult to not internalize those things. And when I came to New York as a college student, uh, it was 3 years before gay marriage was legal in New York, let alone, it was federal, but, this is a progressive spot. And I was at college kissing boys and having a good time, and didn't even think for a second, oh, I had to wait for somebody to tell me I was allowed to, you know?
Mm.
And I think that radical defiance has always been just a defense, because if I let somebody else choose what I can and what I should do, they're gonna they're gonna make a choice that hurts me, and as far as they have, you know. Yeah, so I feel radically defiant and pretty pissed. Because,
I
I
bet.
mean, yeah, I don't know. There's just a stubbornness to me where it's like, I don't know. And maybe this is an artist mentality, but you can't make you can't make art, you can't make love illegal. It is, and if you do, people are still going to make it. And if Spotify went away, there'd be singers on the corner of every block. There'd be singers in every coffee shop. Like there's just it's the human experience. You can't cage it, and you can't turn it off for people. And so I don't know. I don't try to fight anymore. I just live how I want to, and tell everybody to eat rocks if they don't like it.
Exactly. You choose your
Yeah.
own happiness and you choose yourself.
It's a struggle, but I
Yep, I
try.
know.
Mm,
It's an everyday struggle in
yeah.
this fucked up society.
What do you do to manage your mental health?
Um, I have a routine that I do
Yeah.
every day. I try to
Oh,
stick, yeah, I stick to that routine every day. It's kind of boring, but
that's great.
I do it every day. I wake up, I breathe for 5 minutes, I have my breakfast, I do my yoga, I take my shower, I do some work, I
Nice.
take a nap or I rest for a bit and I work
Hmm.
again and then I do yoga again
Wow.
and I breathe again and then I
Okay.
meditate. Same
Wow.
shit every day.
Wow, that sounds so healthy.
And then I can go for a walk and I can
Mhm.
go see my friends for lunch. I don't really do dinners because I'm too old for this now, but
Yeah, me too. I could never do a Broadway show because they don't start till like 7 or 8. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm already in my pajamas. There's no way.
you know what? Same.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah, I do this stuff every day.
That's nice. I mean, it sounds almost similar to what I was saying about just like remembering who's in charge. It's like sometimes you wake up and you go, "Oh, the day requires this of me, and so I must do this, 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 and this," instead of I require this of the day, and
Yep.
I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then other things can find their way in. But this is what I
Mm.
require.
And you know what? Setting boundaries.
Mm.
I don't know about you, but it took me a while.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
finally getting there.
it's interesting. I think that I hadn't learned how to set a boundary. I had learned how to disconnect. Um, it was either cold turkey, this isn't good for me, leave me alone, um, or a boundaryless relationship.
Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
middle ground I think is tricky for a lot of us.
Yep.
It feels selfish to, or in some way, I feel like we're conditioned to think it's selfish to um, prioritize yourself. which is interesting. It's like, I don't know.
I always think that I'm a bad person when I say no to someone.
Mm.
So it takes me a minute to say no.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. I I saw something the other day that was talking. It was like a sleep doctor, and he was saying that some hard truths, and he said that the people who have the mentality of like I'll sleep when I'm dead are going to get there 40% faster. And to extrapolate from that, I feel like if I say no to you today, it's so that I can say yes to you tomorrow. If I say no in effort to reserve or to charge myself, it's so that I can continue to be a resource for those who I want to be a resource for. And in this hypothetical, it would be that like I say no to my fiance for a date night or something that feels hard to say no to. Um, you know, it's like, okay, well, we could go out to dinner every night and we could ignore all my limitations and we could, you know, never say no. And then I could lose 20 years of my life and, it's just a different way of saying no. It's just it. And
Yeah.
my body said no for me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it's just another anchoring moment of filling up your own glass first, you know?
Yeah. But saying no to others is saying yes to us.
Exactly. That's
Life
awesome.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be, and saying, you know, again, in this hypothetical, it's somebody you love, it's maybe less challenging to say no to someone you don't love. So saying yes to someone you do love, or saying no to someone you do love and saying yes to yourself, if they love you back, it's it's love anyway. You know,
Mm.
like if my fiance loves me and I am loving myself by saying no, and he really loves me, then he's gonna love that, you know?
Yep.
And the people who don't take who aren't happy for you for saying no aren't happy for you, period.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
How's your relationship with your parents now?
Yeah. I have a great relationship with my mom. A lot of that has been in in challenging all of us to grow, not just me. And I think that we take for granted that our parents can change and our parents can learn. And I've been really lucky to have a mom that can change and can learn and can grow with me. And so we have a strong and progressive relationship. Um, and I haven't ever really healed the relationship with my father. Um, I guess as far as like, or I don't know, healed feels like a goal. I should rephrase. I've healed my relationship with my father, and that's to say I don't have much of a relationship with my father.
Mm.
And I think it goes along with how I had mentioned to how I protect myself is to choose to be the person in charge of who's in my circle and who's in my life and what energy I invite and who I give my resources to. Yeah,
Yeah. I stopped talking to my dad for a very long time,
it's brave.
but now we're talking again because he changed. But yeah, but it's been hard.
Of course. Well, I think that the hardest part is, and I imagine this is similar to your experience, like um, losing that support system doesn't clock you out from your life. You just because I don't have the support of my father or my mother doesn't mean I don't have bills, doesn't mean I don't have dreams, wants, desires, things that challenge me every day. And so reaching a point where I don't know how long it was that you guys didn't connect, but reaching a point where I overcame so much, I healed myself from so much, I paid my way through so much, I struggled so much, and I did it alone. And so to share any portion of my life on the other side of something um, feels inauthentic to me. It feels like I'm betraying my own integrity to say, oh, welcome to this life I built in spite of you, rather
Mm.
than welcome to this life you helped me build. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even as I plan my wedding, it's like I don't think I would want my father there because I got there by myself. I learned in spite of you how to love somebody.
Yeah.
You know, why would I let you share that joy with me? And I don't think that's necessarily the healthiest thing, but it's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think that would be better for your mental health to not have him there.
Yeah, it's true. It definitely destabilizes the focus. I think I really want to just make sure that whatever I do makes our love the priority, the center.
Yep. Choose yourself.
Yes, exactly.
But man, that was powerful. Knowing the relationship with your dad and your mom.
Mm.
Because we
Yeah,
always talk to people who have great relationships with their parents and family, but that wasn't the
yeah,
case for me.
yeah. I think sometimes I envy it in
Me too.
my sister doesn't have the same dad as me. My younger sister was from my mom's second marriage, and she has such support from her father, and I find myself just like mourning the version of myself that could have been had I been supported.
Mm.
You know, I see in my mind's eye a different person who could have been, and I love the person I am, and I don't think I would choose that other guy, but that other guy, could have been, and that's tricky.
Yep. Oh my God, that's so sad. But
Sorry,
but
told you
yeah,
this is why I'm nervous to put out music.
I agree though. I envy happy families.
Yeah, yeah. But then we build our own. I have a garden in Brooklyn with 200 plants that are beautiful and big, and I have the love of my life that I wake up next to every day, and I've got two cats, and we've got big dreams, and yeah, it's really beautiful once you relinquish the obligation of biological family and really settle into the possibility of creating your own, building your own.
Yep. I hope you're
And
proud of yourself.
I really am. Thanks. I hope you are too.
I absolutely loved this conversation. Thank you so much for listening. Choose yourself. That's what I learned from this conversation. And also, we don't choose our families, but we can choose our friends and we can choose the one we will get to marry, like Nick did. Life is too short to be someone you're not, so choose yourself. Stand up for yourself. Be your true self. And don't let anyone make you feel like you cannot do anything or be anything. We chose music, we chose love, we chose community. And I am truly grateful for Nick, for anyone listening to this. And I am truly grateful for myself. Thank you again for listening. Take care of your mind and see you soon.